crypto to the mass. And up next, we got three speakers to roll up these sessions. Squid from Drift, Rossen from Azuro, and Mario from Pyth, where we can find the answer that is the prediction markets is for the speculations. And Samuel from EVG will be the moderator in these sessions. Let's hear their prediction together. Let's welcome them to the stage, please.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm Samuel, the moderator for this panel, from the investment team at EVG, and next to me is Rossen, who was one of the core contributors of Azuro. I have here, I think the photos are a bit wrong. Maybe you guys should like switch positions. Yeah, we have Mario, head of ecosystem at Pyth, and then we have Squid over there, who is one of the dev roles from Drift. So I guess. Definitely right now, everyone knows that because of recent political events, there's a lot of public attention on prediction markets, and I want to take the chance here to kind of talk to some of the experts and learn a bit more, right? So I guess the first question is how you guys kind of view the recent political events impacting prediction markets as a whole.
Hello. Oh, there we go. I think to start, it brought a lot of attention to the space. There were these like two competing stories, like the one told by mainstream media, saying like, "Oh, this is how the race is going," and then the one told by the markets, which at certain times during the race were very different. And I think that difference brought a lot of debate and attention to prediction markets. And then as like the race evolved, and especially on election day, I think the key takeaway is that prediction markets surfaced information a lot faster than mainstream media. And I think given the way the race went, it gave a lot of credibility to prediction markets. And then I think an effect after that, like after the race, is that this attention and credibility will help bring a lot of builders into the space and really help the space mature and develop going forward.
Yeah, I think it's really quite interesting in the sense that if you actually take a look into the evolution of prediction markets earlier in the year and all the way up until the election, you can actually see that, I mean, with regards to the US election itself, you can already see that there's some discrepancies within the polls, which to Squid's points is like the mainstream media of things. And you can see also the big difference in the polling market. Let's say, for example, like for the US election. Polling market for Trump was kind of like somewhere in the range of 55 to 65% at one point for Trump, for him to be elected as the next US president. Whereas for Kamala, I think it's like somewhere in the range of like 35 to 45 of that. Well, but whereas you can see in the polls is that the race is actually really tight, right? You can see that both Kamala and Donald Trump, they are both trading at, or not really trading, but the polls really telling that both of them are very close to each other, 50-50, or I think 51, maybe 49 or something. So it tells you a very completely different story. And I think that's kind of like the beauty of the prediction markets, right? You can actually get a totally different story, and I think it's just kind of like great to see that the markets can actually express themselves in a much more kind of like freedom or kind of like much freer expression. And I think that's kind of like just very beautiful to see that. I think what prediction market has allowed us to do, which is basically like markets, whatever they want to do, I think as long as you give enough incentive for sophisticated people to actually act on behalf of economic interest, they'll do whatever is best on their interest to make sure that their outcome is achieved. So I think that's just kind of beautiful to see that prediction market is actually kind of like becoming like the main indicator or the leading indicator, not the lagging indicator of, for example, the US election and so on.
Yeah, I think it's been insane for prediction markets, and like assassinations, blood, half like the most popular country, like thinking the other half is Satan, and you get like a super powerful piece of content on top of that whole thing, like which is just enriching the whole kind of experience, a spectacle, and of course that is, I think, like probably for crypto, I think it's done like, yeah, close to what BTC and Ethereum have been doing in terms of attention, like mainstream attention. It's been an insane kind of thing for crypto. And I think there's two takeaways from this. Like some people would be like, one take is like, well, this happens every 4 years, like, and then it's dead. Like there's nothing here. Like, I mean, yeah, we've seen it before. And the other take is, I mean, the genie is out of the bottle. Yeah, of course. Like if you're focusing on elections, yeah, you're gonna like. I mean, it happens once in 4 years, yes, yeah. But that was really big, yeah. And that was the moment where it got there, right? So, and the other take is, I mean, this is gonna be huge. Like it's a massive consumer kind of application in the crypto space. There's gonna be many different, like prediction markets and protocols and like applications. And it's not a winner takes all and all of that. And yeah, I think the latter. So it's big.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think as Mario mentioned, you kind of view prediction market as kind of like a leading indicator, right? I'm just curious on what your thoughts are on like traditional markets versus prediction markets in terms of like reliability, right? Because I feel like in the beginning, a lot of people were saying, like, oh, how play market was very much biased towards Trump just because of everyone in crypto being very much like pro-Trump, right? So I'm just curious on how you think about the future of reliability for prediction markets.
I think with regards to prediction markets, I think it's only going to be becoming more reliable, especially, like I said, if you put enough economic interest into, anything, I think enough sophisticated actors would actually be able to price some of these risks and be able to, take some risk, whether it's going to be like option A, option B, or whatever, the conditional kind of like prediction market is going to be. So I think in that sense, if you actually take a look into, it's also quite interesting that some of the actually kind of like the pollsters, I've been following the kind of like the election kind of like saga for the last few weeks now, and it's just quite interesting to see. So a lot of the kind of like the US pollsters like Nate Silver and all these kind of like very famous people on, on Twitter, they do all these kind of like polls. They say that, oh, I do 80,000 simulations, and like 40,000 of them is like pretty much split, and I think 40,000 and 12 Kamala wins or something like that, right? Which is complete. I mean, the prediction market completely tells a different story. You look at Trump, he's leading at I think at that point around maybe like 60 to 62%, whereas Kamala is like just trading like 38 or 40%. So it's like, I mean, yeah, it's just like insane. And I think as time evolves, I think it should be much more efficient, and a lot more sophisticated actors will definitely pile into this kind of like particular bandwagon, and I think it's just going to be a bigger industry moving forward.
The more money is on the line, the higher the predictive power. So the 80,000 simulations probably didn't cost that much, right? So yeah, I mean, if you have liquidity there, and then it's going to be the best thing. The most liquid market is going to be is going to have the highest predictive power. Just how it is.
Yeah, I'll take a bit of counterpoint, but I fully agree. Like, it's all about liquidity. You need money on the line. But I think the election market, which are highly liquid, like looking at those, people are like, okay, these are accurate. Yeah. And then they will like extrapolate that idea down to all these long tail markets, which really like how they're defined, like how they're structured, and just the liquidity in them. They probably aren't that predictive, and actually may be worse than like just getting a like group of educated people on the topic to predict it. So yeah, I think right now most markets probably aren't that predictive, but as liquidity and attention continues to come into the space, it'll get better. And those super or highly liquid markets, I think, are more predictive.
There was one that was really predictive. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Like the rest is like really. I mean, there's kind of like a threshold, like beyond where you're like, oh, this is very, very serious. Like this is a like big enough amount of like interest that makes it really, oh yeah, there's something there. And below that is just like finger in the air, like not, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the tipping point for prediction market becoming like a very good indicator of something that's gonna be about to happen or something like that is when Joe Biden was actually like pretty much whether he's gonna be resigning or going for the second term. I think that kind of like speaks to the kind of like power that prediction market itself has when it comes to like making that kind of like self-reflexive loop in order to the mainstream media are kind of be like 24/7 covering that kind of like poly market chances of whether Joe Biden is actually going to resign and so on, and it's actually becoming a reality, right? I think a lot of the kind of like predictive power that poly market or any kind of like prediction market has is that kind of like self-reinforcing belief that as the kind of like percentage goes up or maybe the percentage goes down, like the coverage of all these kind of like mainstream media that has garnered a lot of attention, they can sort of go down, sort of go up. Yeah, it just depends on kind of like those things. And I feel like, as kind of like what you mentioned, some markets may not be as predictive because of liquidity and anything of that sort. But yeah, I think as time evolves, like with regards to attention and everything, I think it's just gonna get better.
Do you think for these like low liquidity markets, it's very easy to kind of manipulate early on and kind of sway kind of opinions of actual people coming in later on?
Well, I think it's easy to manipulate, but also there just isn't incentive to like look for or like deploy like these like asymmetric information that one may have into these markets. Like if a market only has $1,000 liquidity, it's at like 50%, like you think is mispriced by 5%, you can only like get $50 profit. Like, are you gonna go through the research, like the risk to go figure out like, okay, is this market designed in a way where I trust? And then also like, am I confident enough in this prediction to put money on the line for a potential $50? No, like probably not. So yeah, not sure how that answered your question, but for the most part, we have a long way to go.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. If it's not liquid, it doesn't work. So yeah, if you don't have incentive like for people to make it liquid, and also like, I mean, yeah, we'll probably get into that, but yeah, bottom line is if it's not liquid, it doesn't work.
Yeah, so I guess well, my next question would be right is because right now election has already ended, right, and I guess everyone has kind of seen kind of what happened to poly market right after the election. So I'm just curious on what your take is on the kind of end goal for prediction markets, or what do you think are some of the most important kind of upcoming developments for prediction markets? What can we do in the future to kind of improve on like the current kind of applications that exist?
For me, it's the liquidity. Poly market has been fantastic in my mind in terms of kind of front-end product and marketing. The core tech behind is a Gnosis V2. It's that's Omen like fork. That's how it started. Like, I mean, of course they've made some like tweaks, but that is 2019 tech. Like that's before DeFi, before AMM, before L2s, and it's I mean you like it's a token trading dual token trading model, right? Yes, no, that's it. Yeah, and you need you need the very specialized market making capacity behind each market that you open up like that. Otherwise, a user comes and they're like, oh, where is the order? Like, I mean, what? Like, I mean, it's not cool. Like for the user to come and participate, So and like this model is quite good, like for a super liquid market, like how the U.S. election market went. That's fantastic, right? But for the rest, like I don't know, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, now if you check, like there's less than 20 liquid markets there, So for me, the tech behind that gotta move to the next level, right? Like how we moved with crypto already, and that's what we've been working on. That's what we have out there. Like, and actually, it's connected to sports, but the model can be it can be utilized way beyond sports. And the idea is similar to kind of like how the AMM works, and it is so much better. For creating, markets that are usable from the outset. When you have like basically passive liquidity that can appear all the time when a user or a bettor, shows up and wants to do something, right? So I think this is a big thing that has to happen. Of course, there's many other things. I think like there's some really crazy applications, and some of them like I would love to see. But for me, that is 0 to 1. Like moment. How do we like, okay, all of this success right now, which is really the success of one market. But it was the biggest market and the biggest event and like, I mean, all the attention, it's fantastic. But how do you take this to more markets that are actually liquid and they work for users? Because if they don't, it's going to be very, very hard.
Yeah, I think like aside from the tech, just like socially, like people starting to use prediction markets, starting to be aware of them is super important. Like if people, like especially some of these smaller startups, if people aren't aware that the markets are even there, like even if they were liquid, like it doesn't really matter. And then I think another interesting thing is like AI agents. I know this is a buzzword, but like LLMs at a high level are really good at processing like information. As far as like predictive capability, that's debatable. But the fact that they're really good at processing existing information, aggregating that, means that they might be able to provide baseline liquidity for a lot of these longer tail markets, making them just like more usable. And I think we'll start to see more of the activity on these markets done by bots and agents per se.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the similar camp as Squid is. So I think we're gonna see more probably maybe bots or maybe kind of like better infrastructure towards prediction markets as an overall. I mean, Rossen pretty much mentioned that the technology that Volley Market is using is like 2019 technology, right? So I think with regards to technology, with regards to infrastructure, with regards to social or basically whoever is trading in those kind of like prediction markets, I think those things are gonna improve over time. And I think that's kind of like the things that we need to fix as an industry to make sure that prediction market is just not a flash in the pan, but it's actually here to stay and it's gonna be staying for a long time.
Yeah, that all sounds really interesting. It looks like a really bright future for prediction markets, you know. But I'm just curious, what do you think are some things that cannot be predicted on? Or what do you think are some of the limitations of a prediction market? Do you think there's anything that cannot be predicted on, or do you think there's always going to be some kind of way around it?
I would say like, I think, well, yeah, a lot, a lot can't be predicted in short. But almost prediction markets, like aside from just being like vehicles for prediction, it's more of like surfacing information quicker than like actual predictions. Like most of the presidential election, like the odds were pretty close because ultimately like that's really hard to predict given all the factors. But as soon as something changed, they would surface it and show like the difference it made way quicker than the mainstream media and things like that. And I think that's applicable for a lot of markets. Like predictions, especially like really far out, there's so many variables. Even for like the most sophisticated actor, that's really hard to do. But as soon as something changes and that change is actionable, I think markets show that really well.
I feel like almost every event, this is kind of like my opposite take to Squid, so I feel like almost every event in the world, or maybe even all of it, can actually be done through prediction markets. It's just that how big is that particular market with regards to liquidity and also at the same time interest. So for example, we had like pretty much what all these guys have mentioned, right? The biggest market is pretty much the US election. Nobody really cares about anything else apart from that. So, you know, we've seen massive volume in terms of, you know, the prediction markets in the US election itself. I think it's up to maybe like, what, 3 billion, I think at its peak or something like that. But whereas in kind of like other markets, you kind of see there's also ridiculous kind of like predictions. I've seen like one particular market that says whether alien is going to be coming within 2025 or something like, or maybe something like that, right? But with regards to interest of the market itself, it's actually really small, relatively speaking to something like US election markets. So I think from kind of like my perspective, you can sort of get anything into the prediction markets, but it's just that how much interest that actually garners for a lot of people, or you know, whether there's actually enough liquidity to actually support that market in the first place. So yeah, that's kind of my take.
Yeah, if we're talking about the predictive power of these markets and how applicable that is, I think it is, yeah, it is extremely widely applicable. It's all about the cost, like at which you achieve predictive power, right? And when you have a super big market where, you know, like people want to participate, you know, like obviously you achieve that, you achieve predictive power for sure, right? But like when we're talking about AI agents, for example, I think, yeah, that cost might be dramatically decreased. It might just go down to the compute of like AI agents playing like a meta game between each other, trying to predict stuff, right? Which we wouldn't go and put our money in, but like they are trying to get better at it. and that is just cost of compute, right? So if it makes sense to do that, to predict like at cost of compute, then we'll predict anything. No, not we, but yeah, but it can get predicted.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I want to dive a bit into more personal questions for each of you guys, right? So maybe I'll just start from like Drift, right? Do you believe that like because I know you guys don't really focus on prediction market as like your main product, right? Is there like a reason for this, or how do you kind of view putting it as kind of like a side product?
Yeah, so I think part of that is how we're built. We have these like core DeFi primitives, which like if you have those perps, barline, spot, you can spin up a lot of different products pretty easily on top of us. So for prediction markets, it was like, okay, we can just like alter our perp market and offer this as a product going into the election. And I think going forward, like obviously after the presidential election, open interest, like volumes have dropped over prediction markets overall. But again, there's that interest, talented builders in this space. It'll just take some time to develop clarity on like where the market is going. So it's figuring that out. Aside from that, we're also looking at experimenting with using it in governance through Futarchy, which I think for crypto native applications is a like very direct application.
Yeah, and I guess from like a Azuro perspective, you guys are very much focused on like sports betting, right? How do you kind of view that kind of market, and where do you see the potential within like sports, or even like for example like esports in the future, right?
Well, first, it is way bigger than elections or politics, you know. So I mean, sports is just humongous industry like globally. So in that regard, how we think about it is in two kind of like planes. One is the user plane, and the other one is kind of like the builder or like application plane. And because like I mean how we're structured is like we directly service applications with the protocol, but the applications then get to the users. And if you're speaking about the users plane, in betting or in gambling, which is 99% with centralized entities, like broadly speaking, in crypto is kind of like a new a new form of gambling to a certain extent, but in like the traditional gambling, there's a lot of mistrust. Yeah, if somebody starts winning money, like, and especially like if it's a place where it's not really regulated, and like, I mean, people are not really safe. Like, I mean, they like the operators don't like them winning too much. Like, they might tell them, send me the, like the bank account of your grandma before I send you the, like your winnings. It's really not great, right? So there's a lot of mistrust, and I think that's a great kind of thing for the crypto core ethos, right? Which is, it's your money. Like, it always remains your money. You don't give it to someone for them to give you the ability to bet. Actually, it stays with you. It's open, it's transparent, it's permissionless. So these things, like this core ethos, I think it really resonates with the betting user. And that's a long-term thing, right? That's kind of like the crypto thing as well, right? I mean, distrust of banks, like the inflation problems, all of that stuff, right? So, and I think in that industry, it's a very, very high level of mistrust. So that makes it a very kind of very good use case, like for using that kind of core benefits of crypto technology and applying to that industry, right? So that's one. And the other one is on the kind of builder and application level. I've been in this industry for like, broadly speaking, in this gambling industry, for about 15 years. And I can tell you, like 6-7 years ago, nobody cared about crypto in gambling. Nobody did, And then everyone started realizing that crypto is actually what makes you global, like instantly, because payments is the biggest pain point was the biggest pain point in that industry, because card transactions don't work, like they get blocked, bank transfers don't work in most places, etc., etc. And then crypto came, and then all of these, like, and gambling is like the most powerful single, online monetization tool, like generally. Like if you go to any website, you'll see like a gambling like ad, or you're gonna see a crypto exchange ad, but crypto exchange is second, usually like in priority. So, and in that vertical, basically, you had like massive fragmentation of this industry. So with crypto, basically, you started getting like a lot of smaller, new, like operators, and that is going and going and going. And I think the next stage of that is like connected to kind of what we are trying to do. And we are. It's not just about the payments. It's also about like how easy, how cheap it is to actually start a new, betting website, or a new betting application. And there we've done like between a 10x and a 100x kind of improvement versus what is possible, like how long it's going to take you, how much it's going to cost you in the traditional industry. And I think that kind of takes us to a space where we're kind of like starting to create a little bit like kind of creator economy, like within gambling. So you can have like a kick streamer that does their own like Genzi bet or whatever, or like smaller teams, et cetera, that get into like this industry and start monetizing. Or maybe even me, like just sending to my friends, don't bet with like whatever, just bet with my with my kind of friend application. So I think that that's kind of the two things that we think about when when thinking about this space.
Yeah, for sure. And from like a Pyth perspective, what do you think some things that you guys can help provide or help assist these guys when it comes to like builders really trying to kind of push forward in this area?
All right. This is not a promotional for Pyth or anything, but it's just like, I think for us, because we are primarily a financial infrastructure for a lot of DeFi applications. So I think definitely when it comes to, prices for everything. So basically, if you are trying to predict whether the market cap of Apple is going to be maybe 5 trillion within the next few months or something like that, or basically if some whatever BTC is going to be at 100K within the end of a year or something like that, right? Prediction markets and Pyth as an infrastructure, that is definitely like synergy we can definitely do together, because Pyth powers mostly on DeFi applications, and we primarily focuses on price speeds, anything of that particularly has a price to it. So in that sense, whatever you need with regards to kind of like the prices or anything of that sort, we are definitely there to support. And I think for us, it's just to make sure that prediction markets or anything that's kind of like in that nature, we can support that to make it happen. So I think from our side, like making sure that they have the best infrastructure to make it kind of like the market as accessible as possible to as many people as possible. So I think that's kind of like our goal.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to learn a bit more from like a project building perspective, right? Early on, when you guys were trying to, for example, compete with traditional sports betting or compete with like other prediction markets, what was the kind of like go-to-market strategy for you guys? Like, were you focused on certain like countries, or what do you kind of see interesting while kind of building a project that you found kind of really interesting and it was a really effective strategy for you guys when it was for like go-to-market?
Yeah, I think for us, pretty quickly we had to change up our go-to-market strategy, because we're very like crypto DeFi native, and ultimately prediction markets like aren't necessarily like a crypto product. It's like a product for anyone, consumer product. One of the benefits of that is it helps bring new users into the space and to our platform. But we had to pivot our like marketing strategy, go-to-market, to try to target those like more consumer-facing people. So maybe like not use crypto Twitter as much, or like try to partner with like different real-world events like influencer boxing events, things like that, to try to get in and target that new demographic.
For us, because it's B2B2C, like you outsource essentially the go-to-market to the end users, you outsource it to the applications, right? So that means that it really is more like of a product marketing strategy. So you gotta do a product, and that product, like people need to want to use that product. In this case, it's like applications that want to kind of go and see like, oh, I can build that thing, I want to build it, I want to try it, I want to, and that was the focus. Like, so having a product and having some people, on the application side, see that product and say, oh, I want to test that, I want to see. And it really is about the product, not about like kind of like some general marketing approach.
Yeah, I see. And just curious on like what your views are on like, because right now it's currently like a very much an AI trend, right? So obviously, I think in future what might be interesting is AI betting on other AI agents or whatnot, right? So I'm not sure how you guys kind of view AI within prediction markets, or kind of being the kind of source of the what we're kind of predicting on.
I think as far as like, not exactly sure as far as the source, but I think as in like providing a closer baseline and like finding these smaller opportunities, it'll be really good. I don't think like AI necessarily has like a distinct edge. I think it has an edge against the average person, but for like prediction markets, it's ultimately about those people with like inside information or new information, and really those few sophisticated actors coming in to really like create that better predicting power. But with AI providing like a better baseline, I think it can help provide more liquidity to those like longer out markets, hopefully incentivizing those other sophisticated actors come in and improve the space. As AI evolves and it becomes like maybe more forward-looking and actually might start to generate that edge, I think that could get really interesting. And then I think it's like an AI war at that point. But yeah.
Yeah, I think we agree with this a lot. I'm not an expert, like on this topic. I know that the guys who, on our side look at this like very deeply. They definitely are not super bullish or on the short to mid-term kind of, predictive power of agents. Like sophisticated entities use AI. Like, I mean, these sophisticated actors that you speak about, I mean, they have the algos for a long time. They have the data. They have the, they have the edge. So I think like that's there already. Like it's just that now we are talking more about it because we are starting to see it like kind of like on a mainstream thing and an autonomous level, like with the bots or like the better bots or the agents. But yeah, on that I think like maybe it's gonna take a long time, if we're right. But it can do a lot of things in terms of I think on the kind of like content around markets, maybe on the creation of markets, maybe on bootstrapping markets. So all of these things were kind of like kind of specific purpose added value, like within the ecosystem. I think, yeah, possibly. Where the agents are, they're better than the sophisticated actors. We think that if it happens, it takes a lot of time, but probably doesn't even happen, because the sophisticated actors have access to, like to the tools.
Yeah, I feel like AI as a general, I think it's really good at pretty much what Squid said, finding kind of like those kind of like small opportunities. And at the same time, I feel like it's also really useful for a lot of these AI things or AI agents to actually find mispriced risks, right? Especially within prediction markets. So let's say, for example, I think back to the US election, because I think that's kind of like the market that I'm familiar with the most. I think somewhat at some point Trump was trading at 62 or 60%, but then Kamala was trading at like 38 or 40%. But then kind of like because some of these kind of like sophisticated actors may or may not use kind of like AI predictive powers, then they may find like some dislocation, some mispricings happening within those specific kind of like prices, and then basically try to take a bet based on kind of like those positions, right? So I think in that kind of like sense, I think AI can be extremely helpful, especially when it comes to maybe less liquid markets, because those are kind of like the places where kind of like AI I think can thrive, as opposed to maybe average people that just bets like maybe like like $50 or maybe $100 on a weekend or something. So I think that's kind of like places where AI I think can be really helpful, and I think can make kind of like the industry thrive as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just gonna move on into like a bit more like mainstream topic, right? So I'm kind of curious on what you guys feel. When do you think, or do you think there will be a possibility where these kind of prediction markets will replace traditional kind of media as a kind of like a go-to information method for a lot of these like normal people, right? Or when do you think this will happen? Why do you think this will happen? Or what kind of I guess prediction's over now, right? But what kind of next catalyst will kind of lead to this?
It's part of the content. I think it's part of the kind of like the whole story, right? I don't think it replaces. Like I think media will probably get replaced by other media, right? I mean, we're seeing it already. Like, I mean, younger people, like, I mean, they will take like news from Mario on Twitter or whatever, or people who watch Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan, and that's happening. That's going. But I think like in terms of like that, like prediction markets not becoming media in my opinion, but it's becoming a very interesting kind of content piece as part of the media cycle, like in the content cycle, and that's really cool. I mean, it enriches the whole thing. So that's really cool. But yeah, I don't see it as like actually media in itself, right? It doesn't do the whole job. Somebody has to talk over that as well.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think in many ways, like it's already there. Like people already will reference markets, at least for context, for media. I don't think it ever completely replaces media. I also think part of that is like predictive power for a lot of these events really isn't that great. So for media, like you want to hear a person talk, but also like just referencing it as like a data point, as context, instead of like a source of truth is important. Yeah.
Yeah, I think kind of like the way I kind of see it for prediction market is more as a reinforcement loop for a lot of these kind of like media to basically portray whatever narrative that they want to portray. So let's say, for example, yeah, kind of like, oh, you know, one candidate is leading over the other. Oh, where's your data coming from? You know, kind of like you can use base of poly markets or any kind of prediction markets to basically substantiate those kind of like claims, right? So I think in that sense, like I fully agree with all of these gentlemen right there. So prediction market itself is not going to be, you know, the kind of like defining thing from this kind of like, I don't know, new media movement or whatever you want to call it. But I feel like it's just going to be part of the bigger picture. So you can use prediction markets as one of the better tools to actually predict what kind of outcome or events is going to happen within this particular event. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be fully replacing the whole media. So.
Cool. Yeah, I think we're running a bit short on time, so probably I'll just do a really quick, fun little session here. Not financial advice. Just want to get everyone's prediction on certain things. So I guess first one, right? What do you guys think Bitcoin price will be by December 31st?
Over 100K, hopefully.
Yeah, 120 would be nice, I think. 120, 125.
Let me take the other side, maybe 150.
Cool. How about for Solana? Because I guess you guys also build on Solana, right?
Me personally, this is not financial advice or anything, and this is not sponsored by Pyth or whatever. I'm personally very bullish on Solana, so I think it's going to trade, I don't know, maybe in 300s or something. So if provided that Bitcoin trades around 100K, I mean, anything can happen at that point. So yeah, I'm betting that Solana probably could trade 300 at that point.
I'm not betting, but you can send me some Solana, mate.
Yeah, I'll go higher, 300 to 400. I think meme coins like very, very viral, and I think as like more like non-crypto people come in, that'll continue to be a big catalyst.
Yeah, and from like a meme coin's perspective, right? Do you guys see any meme coin that will kind of outperform Doge or surpass Doge this cycle?
Bonk, Solana beta, not financial advice.
I mean, we've seen, tremendous movement over the past few days with Pepe getting listed on Robinhood, getting listed on Coinbase and everything else. So, I mean, pretty much the door is open right now for anyone to take. But I still feel that, you know, with the recent announcement of Department of Government Efficiency and everything else, it's like, it's almost like people have been saying on CT, it's Doge coded or whatever it is. Like, so it's pretty hard to replace kind of like the de facto, the meme coin kind of like that has started ever since kind of like we are pretty much in a very infancy stage of this industry. But yeah, I think with regards to kind of like the second place or third place, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, there's a lot of other kind of like candidates.
If Elon decides, yes. But if he sticks with Doge, I think it's going to be hard, probably.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's it for this panel. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
mate.
A big thank to our speakers for such a fascinating discussions. You have really opened our eyes to the potentials of predictions market beyond speculation as a decentralized source of truth. So before we go into our next sessions, it's time for the break for lunch. And you will have plenty of time to recharge and relax. We will resume our next sessions at 2 p.m. So be sure to return to this hall by then, as we have another exciting session lined up waiting for you this afternoon. Enjoy your lunch, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.